Hey everyone, welcome back to Definitely Not Definitive. I'm Ken.
And I'm Bethany.
And today we are going to rank Thor.
That's Zoe, who's back there. Thor is the number 4 film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes.
It is our introduction to this particular character. The first question is the lead male and lead female likability. For me, I gave Jane Foster a score of a 2. I think she might be interesting to grab a beer with.
Now, I was surprised by this. I gave Jane Foster a 1. And whenever we talk about Thor, you hated Jane Foster in the Thors. Whenever we talk about them, you're like, I don't want to watch Thor. I don't want to watch Jane Foster and boring, old Jane.
Team Lady Sif.
Yeah, she's Team Lady Sif. And, so she didn't like it that, you never seemed to like. So I was surprised you gave her a 2.
Now for Thor,
I didn't really like Thor in the beginning of this movie.
he is whiny and teen angsty, which is incredibly unattractive. He's very self-involved and arrogant.
You're not supposed to like him, he's got to grow. I think he had more growth in this movie than Iron Man did in his first movie. I liked Thor a lot better towards the end of this movie. So for Thor, I gave Thor a 2. I said I'd like to grab a beer with him.
Thor actually got the highest ranking I've given a hero so far in likability category.
I still wouldn't give him badass rank, even though at the end he was kind of a badass.
I said he was a badass. I gave him a 3. If a god's not going to get badass status, who is?
My god is a badass.
I was also really impressed by his respect and admiration for Lady Sif. I think that definitely bumped him up a couple notches in my book in terms of being a good guy and somebody very likable. Lead male, lead female bangability.
I gave them both a 0.
So for Jane Foster, I gave her a 0. Now for Thor, I gave him a 2. He has a hot face and hot body. What more do you need?
What? That's shocking! I understand his body's, godlike, and he's got an amazing physique.
His abs, his biceps, his triceps. The body was the best thing he was offering. And while it was very good body, I kind of like a little more.
Lead female, male, relatability.
I gave Jane Foster a 1.
I gave her a 1 as well. For Thor, I gave him a 0.
I actually gave him a 3.
I think this is key distinguishing relatability versus likability, because I still like Thor.
We all have that tendency, especially when we're young or feel entitled to something, to be a bit petulant or perhaps a bit self-centered, even teen angsty. And when I thought of Loki and Thor as teens in the beginning of the movie, it all made a lot of sense.
But I never felt like it was a part of me, or I never felt like, oh man, that reminds me of my friend Doug, I don't even have a friend named Doug, but that's probably why he doesn't remind me of him.
So when I think of you growing from a teenager to an adult, I'd like to think that these are sort of the best parts of me, that you learn from your mistakes, you learn from your parents, your friends, your family, and you grow up.
Thor maybe not the best part of me, but he's maybe the worst parts of me. I'm the youngest in my family. Being the youngest, I was spoiled and could be a brat. Maybe that's why I gave him a 0, because I didn't want to see myself in Thor. I didn't want to admit that I could be him. So yeah, but he got a 0 for right now.
So the villain.
Loki is the villain on this one. I think Marvel did a great job with him. He is the best villain by far to date. The villain's end goal is to rule Asgard.
Yes.
So that's what Loki wants. Now, how many people does this affect?
I gave this a 1.
At first, I gave it a 1. I thought, because for most of the movie, it really only affects Thor.
He wants to prove himself the better man over Thor, which he believes 100% that he is.
We didn't get anything that Loki was going to be a bad king. The way he got it was in a bad way, but
he does seem to have a more measured temperament, and he does seem to think things through better than Thor. One might argue that he's even smarter than Thor.
This ultimately got a 3 from me. A world's health and happiness is at risk, because in order to become king, part of Loki's plan is to destroy the world of Jotunheim.
How strong is the villain compared to the hero? I gave this a 2.
I gave it a 1. Physical prowess and, their powers, I think Thor is stronger than Loki.
While Thor has more brawn,
Muscles.
Loki has more brains. Balancing those two things out, I'd say that they're about equally matched. And I think that's what makes their brotherly love-hate relationship so enjoyable to watch throughout all of the Thor films.
Do you care about the villain?
I gave the villain the highest score I've given a villain so far, and actually the highest score on our ranking.
A 4. Is it wrong that I kind of like the guy?
Because we like the guy.
Yeah, we do.
He's got a charm. He's got a sharp sense of humor. He's smart. Moving on to villain bangability. Yeah, we're gonna differ on this one, I'm sure you can imagine.
I got a 0. No thanks. I'm good.
Tom Hiddleston's an attractive guy, so Loki's an attractive guy.
Loki is an attractive guy. Remind you of anybody?
believe, a physical resemblance to my fiance, which probably adds to the appeal.
I don't see myself, as Loki, I guess, but I guess might be some resemblance there.
There's some resemblance.
Both have dark hair and light eyes, I guess.
I felt that Loki earned a 3.
Side characters.
This movie was really bolstered by a great supporting cast.
So for side characters, we have Lady Sif and the Warriors 3.
Professor Selwig.
Darcy.
Odin.
And Coulson. Lady Sif and the Warriors 3. I gave them a score of 2. Without them, the hero becomes less likable and less redeemable.
And I gave it a 2 as well.
Odin and Coulson both got a 1 from us.
Odin is really there to bring us into the Norse world of Asgard.
I gave Darcy a 3, which means there's not as much humor in this movie without her.
And I agreed with that score as well. I think that if there was one character responsible for the bulk of the humor, it would be Darcy.
Yeah. I gave Selwig a 2. The hero becomes less likable and relatable without him.
I thought he did this both for Thor and for Jane Foster. Bringing in sort of this little supporting posse around her with the humor of Darcy and the sort of paternal heart that Selwig has for her.
Yeah.
I think it really made her a more interesting and well-rounded person and character. Next up is the plot. I think we were in agreement on this one, actually.
Yeah.
I gave the plot a 2, which is entertaining but predictable.
And I gave the plot a 2 as well. Female empowerment.
What role do women play in the movie?
I gave it a 2, and this is based all on Lady Sif.
Lady Sif is one of the highest, most respected warriors in Asgard. I also have to give a shout out to Marvel because we're very used to seeing the funny male sidekick, but this is one of the first times that we get to see a funny female sidekick. And I thought the actress just crushed it. I thought she was brilliant and really did a great job with the humor that Darcy brings to the script. Next on our ranking sheet is soundtrack.
0.
It's a 0.
Humor.
I will admit that Thor surprised me with this one.
I was worried about humor in this one at first, because the first quarter of the film isn't entirely funny.
I didn't remember it being as humorous as I found it to be this time around.
I gave humor a 16 though, because as soon as it gets to Earth, that's when this thing starts getting good.
I gave it a score of 21. I think a lot of this is due to the supporting cast. Visual effects. I gave this a score of 3. I think this movie's definitely big screen worthy.
Visual effects I gave a 3. It's definitely big screen worthy. The way they shot Asgard like they went to Asgard as a location. The way they showed Asgard with the CGI and everything. It was really big and bright and beautiful, and I thought they did a really good job visually for this film. And they had to, because they're in another world.
They're in 3 other worlds at various points.
Oh, sure.
You have Earth, you have the Jotunheim, and you have Asgard. And so I think it was props to them that they did these very visually distinct, different realms for us to visit, and they did a great job with that.
Love story. I gave the love story a 1.
I gave this a 2.
You want Lady Sif as the love story.
Want
you don't
Lady Sif.
like that he ends up with Jane. So I'm like, how could you give it a 2? It's believable, but you don't like it.
I personally want to see Thor wind up with Lady Sif. I'm very sad that does not happen. Again, judging myself on judging this in terms of thinking like, is my dislike of this going to color my score? So maybe I overcompensated by giving it a better score than it truly deserves.
I think you just gotta go with your gut. You gotta go with your gut on things. Don't overthink it.
Okay.
So
I ranked it as a 2, so I gotta stick by that.
Dialogue.
I felt there were some quality, memorable one-liners. I gave this score a 2.
I gave the dialogue a 1. It didn't take away from the film, but I can't quote it too much.
I think Darcy had one-liners that were good. There's this moment where they're driving towards the portal from the Rainbow Bridge on Earth, and she shouts out that this isn't worth her 6 college credits.
I think for me, I guess the reason I didn't score the dialogue as high is because if there wasn't a joke, I didn't find the dialogue as engaging as in, say, Iron Man. I didn't think, So that's why I think I gave it the lower score.
That works.
Yeah. Okay, I'm glad it works.
Action sequences. So we agreed there were 4 action sequences.
I gave the action sequences a 1.
I gave them a score of 3. The different worlds, the visual elements to these stories probably contributed to that a lot.
You know what? I told you to trust your gut, and I think that I did that too. I think I probably would have given it a 2. I was thinking about giving it a 2. I ended up giving it a 1, maybe because I was like, man, this is getting such a high score. I'm worried it's gonna just crush. Because with your score, it gets a 12 because it's the number of action sequences times your score, and for me it gets a 4. Like I said, this might be controversial because having a lot of action sequences that are good and fun will boost up its score maybe more than it should, but
they're superhero movies.
Yeah, they're superhero movies, so that's the way it should be. And I think I probably enjoyed the action sequences in this more than I did in Iron Man.
Yeah, I think I probably could concede that it could be a 2 rather than a 3.
Heart. I was surprised that I gave it such a high score. I gave it a 3. I hate to admit it, but I got a little misty-eyed when Thor was sacrificed himself. I felt stupid, but I did.
That's not. That's what they want.
I know, but they want it from from you, not from me. I'm supposed to like the action sequences. You're supposed to like the heart. It's not supposed to be the other way around.
Well, I got misty-eyed for Iron Man, but on this one, I just got the warm fuzzies, so I gave it a score of a 2.
I gave Thor an overall score of 52.
And I gave an overall score of 76.
However,
we did agree on -5 points for failing to engage the audience fully.
that's because the first part of the film, when they're in Asgard, like I said, there's a lot of expositional dialogue, and it's not very interesting. It did not have me hooked right away. With that, your score became a 71, mine became a 47, which gives a total score of 118, divided by 2 gives it an average score of 59.
Which puts it in the lead right now.
It's in the number 1 slot right now, Thor. Who would have thought it? That's the reason we're doing these rankings, though, is because, when we just do it arbitrarily of what we think, a good movie is, we didn't have Thor ranked that high, actually. I think we maybe even had it in the bottom 5, or at least the bottom 10 for sure. And now it's number 1, and it's above Iron Man, which we had in the top 10.
In fairness to the other films that we've ranked, particularly in fairness to Iron Man, I have not rewatched Hulk over and over again. I have not rewatched Iron Man 2 over and over again.
True.
But I loved when I first saw Iron Man, so that is a movie that I have watched multiple times.
Thor had more side characters in it. It had some good humor. It had better action sequences in it. I think one of the reasons that people like Iron Man more than Thor and would rate it higher is, one, the nostalgia of it. Iron Man came out first. Iron Man was so fresh and original when it came out. Abby wants to get back in this. And I think that for Thor, also it being in Asgard, I think some people that don't maybe like the fantasy element of it all.
Norse gods and rainbow bridges from other planets. It takes a little more to suspend your disbelief.
Yeah, if you don't like fantasy films, then you're not gonna like Thor. But if you don't like superhero films, you still could like Iron Man. So that's it for our review of Thor. And next week we're gonna do Captain America: The First Avenger.
I've actually tried to watch that movie twice and I've fallen asleep both times.
Yeah, we're gonna get through it this time though. Promise.
We will, because we have to rank it.
Yes, we do.
All right, thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thanks.
And have a great rest of your day.